Okay, in this section, we're going to be talking about graphing recessionary gaps and inflationary gaps. And we're going to be looking at it from a Keynesian perspective. And so I'm going to draw some graphs up here that I want you to be able to replicate, to be able to draw on your own and draw the arrows and explain how we get a recessionary gap and an inflationary gap from a Keynesian perspective using these graphs here. So, okay, you're probably getting tired of me drawing this circular flow model of the economy here, but I'm going to show how it applies over here with this particular graph here. Keynes gave us a theory that the economy could stagnate at full employment in an inflationary economy, or it could stagnate in a recessionary, depressionary economy with lack of demand, because there was no invisible hand that would move the economy to full economic output, to full employment, what we call potential income and potential expenditures. So if we would say that what the households spend, we'll call that expenditures. And what the households earn with their labor, we'll call that income. So we've got dollars expenditures and we've got dollars income. And Keynes said that this circular flow model will equilibrate, it will balance when this amount of this flow of expenditures exactly matches this flow of labor income. And to show all the different possibilities of x equaling y here, if it was x and y, we could draw a line that would be a 45-degree, if I could draw that, 45-degree angle there. And since we're pretty good with graphs, we know that if we come out here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches, and if this is a 45-degree angle, when we come straight up here, and we come off here at 90 degrees, if we know this is 5 inches, class, then what will this dimension be? The same thing, 5 inches, right? Because this bisects this angle, so this dimension is going to equal this angle. So if we look at all the points on this line, we're saying for every point on that line is a point where this income exactly matches this expenditure. If we're over here, this amount of income will exactly match this expenditure. And where income exactly matches outgo, expenditure, then that's where the economy will equilibrate. Now, Keynes said it could equilibrate at a point where people aren't spending very much, demand is low. Because demand is low, people aren't getting very much money, and there's going to be a lot of people unemployed. And you know what? The economy could equilibrate there. We could be someplace on here, which would be Depressionville. I mean, Keynes said the economy could equilibrate any place on this line. Now, when I say Keynes said, I'm really being liberal here. I'm just saying the Keynesian view says, because there were a number of economists that came after Keynes that applied his particular viewpoint, and so I'm just attributing to Keynes the most popular proponents of Keynesianism. Now, although I didn't mention it in your text, it's called potential income. Potential income. When we get this circular flow model pumped up here with enough demand that we're pushing so much around here, that we've got this income from labor as much as we possibly can, and therefore we're spending as much as we possibly can. And oh, what a wonderful world it would be if all of a sudden we can work as many hours as we want, and we can make as much money as we want by the number of hours, and then we can spend as much as we want. Now, if everybody is fully employed and factories are operating at full capacity, then we're at some income level here, which is people making as much as they possibly can, and that's called potential income. I'll call it PI for potential income. And I'm going to draw a line straight up. Straight up. And if we are here, if the economy is equilibrating at this point right here, then according to our graph, everybody is earning the maximum amount of income they can possibly earn from employment. There's no unemployed out there. There's nobody only working 2 or 3 days a week when they want to work 5, 6 days a week. And because they're making the maximum amount of income, they also have the maximum amount of money that they can spend. And they do. Did you ever notice that no matter how much money you make, you always wind up spending it all? It doesn't matter how much you make, you wind up spending it all no matter what it is. So Keynes says, yeah, people, if they make this much money, they're going to spend that much money. And that's a good thing, because when they make it, they got to spend it to increase demand to keep this circular flow model of the economy roaring. If you can keep this money going around like this, then you're going to have full employment, and you're going to have the economy producing as many goods and services as it can possibly produce. And I call that economic nirvana. It can't get any better than that. So the idea here is that Keynes wants the economy to equilibrate right there on this 45-degree line. Because the economy, he said, can equilibrate on anywhere. There's no invisible hand that's going to push us up to this equilibrium point where we get maximum income and maximum expenditure. It doesn't exist in macroeconomics. And therefore, we could be here or here or here or here. And the name of the game is we've got to have a government policy, and we've got to have some government economists that are sharp enough, they're intellectually equipped to somehow get the economy to equilibrate right here on this 45-degree line. Now again, what is this 45-degree line? It's the locus of all the possible points at which the economy can be in equilibrium. Equilibrium. If I'm standing here and I got somebody over here and he pulls me here with a force of 10 pounds, I'm going to go that way, right? But if I have somebody over here that's pulling me with a force of 10 pounds on this side, 10 pounds this way, 10 pounds, I stand right here, right? But if this guy is pulling 10, this is pulling 20, then I'm going to go this way, right? So I could, if they're pulling at 20, fine, 30, fine, 40, fine, 50, fine. But notice I'm not moving. The force goes up, but I'm not moving, right? Because I am in equilibrium between the two. That the force pulling this way exactly matches the force pulling that way. Another illustration. Did you ever wonder why the moon just doesn't fall into the ocean? You never wondered that. Did you ever wonder? You go like this with a ball, right? It's not physics class, but you've done that before. It's going around the Earth. Well, did you ever wonder why it doesn't go wing? Bye, moon. Nice knowing you. It didn't fall into the ocean. It didn't go poof out towards Pluto. Why? Equilibrium again. The force of gravity pulling it toward the Earth exactly matches the mass of all the other planetary body out there, and so the force pulling it one way exactly matches the force pulling it that way, and it just kind of stays in equilibrium. I'm giving you illustrations of equilibrium to point out, that's what we're talking about. The economy will hover right there. The forces pulling this way exactly match the forces pulling this way. So we want to be right here. Oh, profs hate it when you guys do this. You do text messaging stuff when you write on your papers, and they had it. Now I'm going to do it. You wanna be here. You're not allowed to do that, but I'm allowed to do that. Okay. You wanna be here. Where do you want to be on this 45-degree line? You want to be out here where you get the maximum amount of income so that you can spend the maximum amount of money so we get the maximum GDP that our economy can possibly produce. That's where we want to be. Okay? Now let me back up for a second. How do we know we want to be here? Because we know that the point right here is called potential income. That is our greatest potential. If we get the economy fine-tuned, where it's running like a fine machine just the way we want it, then we can go all the way out here and have this much maximum potential and have this much maximum expenditure. And oh, what a wonderful world it would be if everybody had a job and everybody was working all the hours they wanted to work and spending all the money they could possibly make. So we want to be here. Yeah, so I'm going to erase this here. Okay. Now let's talk. Keynes said there were basically two kinds of expenditures. Two kinds of expenditures. The first one he called autonomous. Autonomous expenditures. And the other kind of expenditures he called induced. Induced expenditures. Now, what do we mean by autonomous expenditures and induced expenditures? Well, let's take the word apart for a second. We got auto, nomos. Auto means self, nomos means law, and so that's self-law or self-ruled. And by that term, Keynes said that there is some expenditures that everybody makes that's not induced by their income, but it's really dependent upon their self-determination. So even if a person doesn't have enough money to cover all the things that they really, really need, they're going to spend enough money to keep their body functioning and to keep a roof over their head and keep warm in the winter, no matter if they got to go collect pop cans or maybe take some hubcaps that other people don't need off their car. Whatever you got to do, they'll sell off maybe their stamp collection or their baseball card collection. They got to spend a certain amount of money right here just to keep basic necessities. Now, they will spend this amount of money called autonomous spending no matter how much their income is. It stays the same. You've got to have a certain basic amount of money to keep the water coming and to stay warm in the winter, have some clothes, have a car to get someplace, and he calls those autonomous expenditures. Now there's another class of expenditures that Keynes called induced, and it's induced by income. So we said the more money you make, the more money you spend. So if we're not making any money right here at zero, we don't have any induced expenditure because we don't have any more money that would induce us to spend any more money. But as soon as we start making some money, right here, it goes from here to here to here. And as we make income, right here, although the autonomous expenditure stays the same, the induced expenditure begins to increase. The more we make, the more we spend. The more we make, the more we spend. Are you with me? Okay? So at any point, if we went out to here, for instance, we go straight up, this amount at this income level, this would be the autonomous expenditures, and this would be the induced expenditures. You add them together, and you get total expenditures. You with me? Okay. Now I'm gonna get rid of some of my construction lines here, and I'm only going to leave this. This line right here, okay, which is the summation of autonomous plus induced is total expenditures. Starts here, and as people make more and more income, the total expenditure goes up. Now, who is spending this money? Well, obviously, consumers are spending this money. Is there anybody else in the economy that spends money? Oh, well, yeah, businesses spend money, and the more money businesses make, the more money they spend, right? So this line here, it's called the consumption function, according to the Keynesian terminology, the consumption function, and he put it in the form of an equation. I'll just say GDP, gross domestic product, is made up of consumer spending, called C, plus business investment, called I, plus one I'm going to skip for a second, plus one more I'll call XN for net exports. If firms make a product and they ship not the stuff to a homeowner, but they ship the stuff to a foreigner over here, what do they get in return? Well, they're going to get paid money. Cool. If they get paid money, well, then we're going to have to hire some laborers to make the stuff, to send the stuff so we can get more money. We love exports. Exports are wonderful. We don't like imports so much because that means our money's going over there and we're taking their stuff. We love exports because when we export the stuff, the money comes in, and that helps our circular flow model of the economy. But some stuff goes out, but there's also stuff that comes in, and when we buy stuff from China, then our money goes to China, and the made in China comes to our Walmart here, and that takes away from the amount of money in here, and that depresses our economy. So we want exports, and so we'll have net exports. So what contributes to our GDP? Consumer spending, business investment, foreigners who want to buy our stuff, and there's one more in here. I call it big G. Now, it doesn't stand for God. It stands for government. Now, if we need to increase spending, increase demand, we can tell consumers, hey, it's going to be a great year, so go borrow some money and charge it on your credit card because things are going to be great, but sometimes they just don't believe us and they don't. We could go business and say, hey, I think that it's going to be a good year, so crank up and start building those cars and start building all that factories and carpet and all this because it's going to be a real good year. And sometimes I don't see it in the consumer psychology showing. I'm from Missouri. You show me that they really want our stuff, and then I'll start making more of it. And we can't go to foreigners and say, hey, we got a depressed economy over here. Look, you guys from France, help us out here. Germany, come on, we help our economy out. And they go, phooey on you. We got our own economy to worry about. So we can't count on foreigners, we can't count on business, we can't count on consumers to increase this demand. But who can we count on? Big G, to increase spending to bring us up to full or potential income. So this line here is really C plus I plus G, G plus XN. And XN stands for net N exports, net exports. We're going to pick up next time to show you where this consumption function here intersects with our 45-degree line, equilibrium line, is where we're going to pick up in the next section.